As soon as I finished getting dressed, I heard a pop. And my husband said to me that he saw like how much blood was on the floor as I was walking. She had to put her hands inside and pull out clots. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's story will be my birth story, as you can see from the title. So I've had my baby now, and it's perfect. It's the cutest little thing, just adorable, perfect little angel. Yeah, definitely very happy to be a mom because I love him incredibly. It's just an incredible experience and an incredible I don't know, just the entire situation just feels very fulfilling but extremely tiring, and can be also draining and mentally draining. So that's just what I want to start with. But just make sure you've got good support, good friends and people that you can talk to if you need to. But I just wanted to get into the story of how he came into the world. So before I start with the story, I also wanted to just make you guys aware that there is no video of the birth, of the actual birth. There might be one or two pictures, I'm not too sure, but unfortunately, as you'll find out, we were not able to take film like I wanted to, because I wanted to do a whole vlog, a birth vlog, but we were not able to do that. And there wasn't many pictures also because, again, I'll get into it when I tell you the story. Okay, so how did my labor start? So the entire time, the entire third trimester, I started getting these things called Braxton Hicks, which is like they call it like a labor pain, but very mild. So I've been getting them on and off, right? So it comes, I think it was like on a Saturday or Sunday. I'm not too sure. Maybe it was Saturday. I ended up going to triage because I felt like the baby wasn't moving as much. Because I was already in my third trimester, I was 39 weeks already. They attached me to this monitor, and the monitor has like different, I don't know how to say, like different things that looks out for to make sure that the baby is fine. So there's this thing called TOCO, which is a scoring system, and it's scored in percentages. So usually when I had been there in the past, the scoring usually would be like 5, 7, and that usually means that you're not having any contraction. But when I looked at my scoring that day, I saw 100, 80, 100. And as far as I was aware, even looking back and reading on my phone, it says you're in active labor when the contraction are from 40 to 60. From 50 from 50 to 80, you're on the second phase of contraction. So mine was already like 100, but it wasn't painful. So it was just felt like a sharp, not like a sharp, kind of like a mild period pain, but very mild. At this point, the checks come back, everything is fine, baby's moving fine, and they send me home, right? But just before they sent me home, the midwife that was looking after me said, I asked her about 100. She said, "Oh, this is just you're showing that you're having a few contractions, but it's fine." So anyway, I went home. A couple of days after the episode, I went to hospital. I went about my day. I did get a little bit of Braxton Hicks, but nothing major, nothing that made me think, oh my god, I'm in labor. I didn't lose any mucus plug. I didn't see any blood. There was nothing, that made me think I'm in labor. So I had gone for a nap that evening. Woke up about 6:30 and just chilled for a little bit in my room, and then I felt a sharp twing, like a Braxton Hicks, like a sharp twing, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a little bit painful, but I didn't think any of it because I have been having this pain all along for weeks. So I just thought to myself, okay, anyway, so I am due, I was due the next day. So the next day was my actual due day. So I was like, I'm due the next day anyway, so let me just go and have a shower and shave everywhere just in case anything happens like tomorrow or in the middle of the night, right? So I just went in the shower. At this time was probably like 8 something. I went in the shower and I shaved and I washed and did all the thing I needed to do. And this took me forever. It took me probably like 45-50 minutes. So the reason why it took me so long is because at this point I was struggling to see what I was actually shaving. I couldn't really see anything because of my big bump. So it took me a lot longer. And then I was out of breath a lot by just doing a few small things. So it was now almost 9 o'clock by this time. And the entire time I was in the shower, I was getting these twinges and they were getting a little bit stronger. So I thought, oh, let me time it. So I started timing them, but they were all over the place. They were lasting like 6-8 minutes, coming like so far apart. So I wasn't that bothered. And it wasn't that painful that I was in pain or screaming. I was still able to do what I needed to do. Come out of the shower, get dressed, get ready for bed, and just to have dinner and stuff. And I get a stronger twinge. So I'm like, oh, let me let my husband know at this point that I'm getting these twinges. So let my husband know, and he's like, oh, let's call triage and let them know that this is what's happening. So as we call triage, I get this really painful twinge contraction. And my first thought is, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening now. Thank God I shaved. That was the first thing I thought. So, but because the pain was actually, this contraction was quite painful, I wasn't able to speak on the phone straight away. So my husband was on the phone, he was telling them, blah, blah, blah. So, and then as soon as the pain went, I took the phone and I told them, okay, the contraction are this far apart, blah, blah, blah. And the lady, the midwife or whoever was on the phone said, oh, just stay at home and try to labor at home as much as you can. And, as soon as the contraction are 1 minute apart, lasting, what did you say? Lasting 1 minute, something like that. I don't remember. But they have to be closer together and be quite short. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll do that. I'll check. I'll continue counting. And, if anything changes, call you back. So I did just that. I stayed at home. I tried to bounce on the ball, walk up and down the stairs, just try to, to stay active and do things as, I've been advised and been taught to do. But anything I was trying to do, it was not helping with the pain. The pain was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I knew I was in labor. I knew that the baby was coming. But, it's my first baby, and they always tell you your labor is usually like long hours. So I wasn't expecting to go to hospital anytime soon. Plus, my contraction was all over the place. So anyway, comes 11. It's getting so painful to the point that I am struggling to walk. Right? I'm now in all fours in my room, begging my husband to help me do what? I do not know what I was hoping for. I don't know what I wanted him to do, but I was just in so much pain that I just wanted my husband to be there all the time. Throughout all this, my contraction was still 4 minutes long, or 5 minutes, or 2 minutes. It was all over the place. They were not close together. Sometimes there was no break between one to another. There was all over the place. It's now 11, so only a couple of hours have gone. And my husband's like, you know what, you're in too much pain. Let's call triage again and let them know that we will be coming. So we call triage and we tell them I'm in too much pain. And they're like, okay, just make your way here so we can check. But, they let us know that it's probably still too early and they might end up sending us home. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let them just check me. I managed to get to my other room, so the spare room, the baby's room, and it's taken me quite a while, but I managed to get dressed. As soon as I finished getting dressed, I heard a pop. As the water popped, I had this painful contraction. It was so painful, I wasn't able to move. My husband at this point wasn't in the house. He had gone in the car to put the luggage and the bags that we needed in the car. So I was just there in pain, for at this point probably screaming, just unable to move, right? And then the contraction went and my husband came back up. I called him, shouted at him as soon as he walked through the door, and told him my water broke. And so he helped me clean up. So there was so much mucus, apparently there was like water everywhere. He just helped me clean myself up. And we called the hospital again to let them know that my water had broken. And the lady was like, yeah, definitely just come in, let us check. Okay. So at this point, I need to get dressed again. my husband then helps me get dressed, change all my clothes and get dressed. This takes time because I am in O4 and I'm getting more and more contraction, and they're so close together and they're long. So they're like 4 or 5 minutes long. So in my head I'm thinking, no, they're still very long. They're probably going to check and I'm going to be like, I don't know, maybe 1 centimeter or nothing, and then send me back home. But by the time we get dressed and everything and ready to leave the house is, I think, 11:35 or 11:40, something like that, but it's quite late on. We go to drive to get to the hospital, and obviously the road to the hospital from my house is closed. So the 10 minutes drive now becomes 20 minutes. So by the time we reach the hospital, it's now 11 o'clock, not midnight, just past midnight, I believe. And I just told my husband, just park in front of the hospital, you can move your car after, I need to get in. So the reason why I told my husband to park at the front is because I had a feeling of pushing. So the feeling of pushing, it feels like you need to take a number 2, right? So just imagine you need to push that sheet out. But the sheet wasn't from the back, it felt from the front. It's a weird feeling, it's a weird way to explaining, but it felt like I had to push. So I couldn't walk at this point. I just felt like I couldn't walk. So luckily there was a wheelchair just outside the maternity unit, and I sat on it, and my husband took me upstairs to the maternity unit. As I got to the reception to obviously like check in or register, that I've come in, the lady was like, oh, okay, have you got any paperwork with you? Like, have you got anything with your name or your hospital number and all of that? And I just gave it to her like really quickly, but she was she was taking a sweet time. And I was like, I said to her, like, I need to go. And she was like, oh, I need to check you in first. So as she's doing all of that, I just look at her, I'm like, I need to push. And she looks at me, we make eye contact, and she's like, okay, let me quickly go and get a midwife. So she quickly runs and gets the midwife. They come to me and they take me to another room straight away without finishing the registration and the check-in. And they're like, okay, before we do anything, we need to check you. So I was like, okay. I hate the checks because when I had seen my midwife a few days, about a week prior, before I gave birth, she did a sweep and the sweep was painful, so she wasn't able to do it fully. So when she said they need to check, I know they need to check the cervix, and I was just like, oh, I don't really want them to, but I know they had to. So as they're about to check, I tell them, what, I want pain medication. I know that my original plan was to just use gas and air. Forget it, I don't want it. I want meds. Give me meds, give me all the pain medication you can give me, because I'm dying. The midwife is like, okay, let us check first. And then she asked me, did you take any paracetamol? And I said, yes, I took it when I was at home, as I was told to take it when I made the very first phone call. But it did nothing at all. It didn't help at all. So she's like, okay, I will check and I'll let you, and then go from there. And then I just told them, as before they started checking, I told them I wanted a birth in a pool. And they said, oh, that the room is now being used by someone else, but they have a bath that I can use if I want. And I said, and I wasn't happy, but I was in pain, so I said, okay, that's fine. In that room there was also a student midwife who was the best. Literally, if you guys can get a student midwife during your birth, please do, because they are usually the best. So she was amazing. So she was in the room. They checked everything, and then they said, okay, we can take you to the pool, right? And in my head, it didn't click that they didn't send me home. So I just realized I was filming it in portrait rather than landscape mode, but whatever. So as I said, as I was saying, they checked me, and I realized that I must have been like about 4 centimeters because they didn't send me home. So they then took me to not the pool, to the bathroom. But in my head, it was only after I didn't click, but when they took me to the room, they used this device, not device, but it was like, I forgot what it's actually called, but they didn't allow me to walk. At that point, I didn't realize why they didn't allow me to walk. But got to the pool, and they were like, oh, setting the bath ready and getting the gas and air. Then I go to them, I want pain meds, I do not want gas and air. And they were like, oh no, just try the gas and air. So I did tell them, like, I just want I don't really want to try the gas and air, I just want pain medication. And they were like, oh no, just try it first, and if you really don't like it, then we can, get you some medication. So I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll try it. I get into after they because at this point there was a student midwife, a proper midwife, and there was another senior lady that came in, and they got everything ready, and then they put me in the bath, right? And then they said, and then I told them I need to push. I think I did try and push when they were doing the checks, and they were like, oh, just let your body do whatever it needs to do. But when I got in the bath, they said the same thing, you know, just do what you need to do, just let your body do whatever it needs to do. And I was using the gas and at this point, like sucking that thing in, like it was depending, my life was depending on it. And I remember just thinking, like, why are they letting me push? So as I'm in the bath, like with my hands like above the bath thingy, and I'm like obviously naked from the bottom down, the student midwife pops a mirror underneath me. And that's when I knew that the reason why I wasn't sent home, the reason why I wasn't getting any medication is because I was ready to push. That's what I knew. So she pops the mirror there, and I tell them I really need to push. They tell me, you know, let your body do what it needs to do. So I give like two pushes, and then the student midwife says, oh, I can see the head. I was like, I just pushed twice, mate. Maybe 3 times with the first time in the other room. And I was like, what head? But then I do another push and I hear poop. That's what I hear poop. And his head was out. So at this point I was still having contractions. So when I had the plop, the contraction stopped, and then maybe like 20 seconds later or 30 seconds later, I had another contraction, and I did one more push because I needed to push, and I pushed really hard, and this time I felt something like come out. It felt like the biggest clot in the world come out, you know, like if you've ever had the period and had clots, you know what that feeling. So that's what it felt like. I felt like this massive clot, and then I had plush in the water, and I still felt something stuck inside, which was the umbilical cord. So yes, that was him. And then I looked in the water, and it was full of bloody, and then there was him. And I don't remember, at this point, I do not remember if I reached over and picked him, or if the midwife gave him to me. All I know is that I had him in my arms in like a second after. All of this happened really, really quickly. So, time frame. By the time I got to the hospital to be checked in, it was already like 10 past midnight. By the time they took me to the bathroom to be, you know, to the side to start the birth, it was already 25 past midnight, I believe. By the time they got me in the water and then get everything ready and stuff, I don't know how long it took, but the baby was born at 20 to 1. I did 3 or 4 pushes, and that's it. That was all it took for baby to be born. It was so quick. And now, so okay, the birth was, for me, it was amazing. It was quick. I didn't feel any, I felt pain of the contraction, but the pain of giving birth, I felt no pain at all of giving birth. Like pushing him, I felt no pain. But, yes, big but, because the birth was so quick that it literally ripped me apart. I ended up getting a 3rd A degree. So I was ripped from A to B, which was quite bad. The second part of the issue was the loss of blood. At that moment in time, I was just, you're in this, I don't know how to explain it, like in this frenzy, in this strange emotional feel, I don't know, you're just in a weird situation that you don't feel pain or you don't really realize what's happening. So when they, you know, they must have seen the amount of blood and water, and they moved me from the bath, you know, while holding the baby to sit. Yeah, I was holding the baby, and they moved me to the sitting position. And my husband said to me that he saw like how much blood was on the floor as I was walking to that seated place. But I wasn't paying attention. I was just like holding the baby. It was just so, I don't know, like in love, looking at his little face, like just perfect. And then I had the student midwife saying 1.4, because the other midwife must have asked her like how much blood, and she said 1.4, but she didn't say 1.4 of blood, you know, she just said 1.4. So I looked, it was a very big room, so I looked at her and I could see like there was like towels full of blood. And I thought that was normal because you give birth, obviously you're going to lose blood, right? And I didn't realize how much blood it was, and I didn't realize 1.4, she meant like 1.4 liters of blood. And I was still losing blood at this point, because I could see like down at this point there was quite a bit of blood. So now I'm holding my baby and I'm thinking, why am I losing so much blood? So the senior midwife says, okay, we need to actually take you back to your room. But I think what they do at that point, they asked my husband to cut the cord, and I didn't get to have that, that moment where I held the baby until the cord went white. I couldn't do that because of the blood loss. So they were like, we need to take you to a different room. Your husband can cut the cord, we'll take the baby, blah, blah, whatever. So we did that, and then they moved me to the room. Without letting me walk, they used the same device that they used to transport me to the room where I gave birth. So in there, they lay me down on the bed, and they're like, oh, you're losing quite a bit of blood. But my main concern wasn't even the blood loss. My head was, did I tear? But at this point, I didn't know I teared. So I kept asking, did I tear? And the midwife was like, I can't see because there's so much blood, and I can't see if you teared. So I had the senior midwife trying to cannulate me on one side, the student midwife trying to reassure me everything was fine, and the other midwife down in between my legs checking, making sure that I had, trying to stop the bleeding. So she's wiping away, and the blood is not stopping. So the senior takes over to try and stop the bleeding, and then she tells me I do have a tear and I might need to go into surgery to have it repaired. So at this point I know it's a big tear, it's not a little one, but I'm still bleeding, she said, and they're like, we're trying to find out if we can stop the bleeding. Sometimes it can be caused by a tear, but sometimes it can be something else. So they said that sometimes there can be some placenta left over or whatever that can cause the bleeding, but they were not sure. So the other midwife comes back in. They've got like it looks like not tablecloths, but like muslin, like big muslin, right? And they are wiping away now, patting, and it's not like she's doing gently, she's like pushing like really hard inside into my vagina area where I just gave birth, and it was so painful. And they told me, you definitely need gas and air for this. I required more gas and air then than I needed when I gave birth. So the way they were pushing, and then the bleeding wasn't stopping, so she had to put her hands inside and pull out clots. Oh my gosh, this was the most painful thing. Birth was nothing compared to this. So the birth was not traumatic to me. The aftermath of giving birth, that was very traumatic. It was really like, not scary. I didn't think I was dying or anything like that, but I was, it was painful and it was uncomfortable, and it was a bit scary because at this point they had told me I lost 1.6 liter of blood, and I was still losing. So they said I need to go into theatre. They need to check why I'm still bleeding and stop the bleeding from theatre. So the surgeon that gave me my that did my surgery, she was the best. She was so nice, so helpful, so so much empathy. She was able to like put me at ease and tell me that what she would be doing. She was great. And then I had an anesthetist that had to give me a spinal block, because although I never had any medication for the pain when I was giving birth, I needed a spinal block to go into surgery for this, or they will have to put me to sleep. The student midwife was godsend. She held my hand as they were giving me the spinal block. Can you imagine? I didn't need no one to hold my hand while I was giving birth, but I needed someone to hold my hand and reassure me while they were giving me a spinal block. Why? I do not know, but I was petrified with a spinal block. I just couldn't keep still. I kept moving like like an idiot, and I apologized so many times to the poor anesthetist. But then I told him as well, like, you know what, because it did it like 3 times before it worked. So at the second time I was like, just put me to sleep. I don't want for you to try anymore. I'll just go sleep. But then the surgeon came in and she was like, let him try one more time, blah blah. She was very good, and then I let him try one more time, and he was successful, and I had the surgery. She stopped the bleeding and she stitched me up nicely. Yeah. Now, actually, by the time I got to theatre, the bleeding up subsided, but not fully stopped. But by the time she finished the surgery and stitched me up, the bleeding has stopped. Obviously, I got a period like almost straight away. Postpartum bleeding, I should say, no period. But that was that, and then I went back to into recovery. Just to let anyone know, my husband was in theatre with me, and the baby was also in theatre with me. I didn't want the baby out of my sight at any point. I wasn't able to feed him. Because of this, I wasn't able to breastfeed him. I didn't have any supply of milk because I was just losing so much blood. But as I said to you guys in the previous video, the packing my bag, I did bring some ready milk, which he had that milk in theatre while my husband was sitting like next to me with the baby, and he was feeding the baby. So once the surgery was all done and I was back in recovery, that's when I was finally able to hold my baby properly. Up until then, I hadn't been able to hold my baby properly. It was very quick that after I gave birth, and I had to take him into the room. But once it took him from me, when they had to cut his cord, I was not able to hold him up until a few hours later. So I gave birth to him at 20 to 1. I think I went into theatre at about 2-ish o'clock, and then at surgery, whatever. So it was probably like 3 or 4 by the time I was able to hold my baby again, which was quite sad because I wanted to hold him the entire time. And so that's why I wasn't able to take any pictures. I wasn't able to do any videos, just because everything happened so quickly. It was very quick. I had the baby really quickly. Then there was the issue with the bleeding, trying to stop the bleeding. Then the surgery, they were like, as soon as everything is ready, you're going into surgery, into theatre. So there wasn't any waiting about. Everything was done quickly. And once I was in surgery, obviously I couldn't hold the baby. My husband still had the car parked outside in the hospital. He could have gotten a fine. So he didn't even get the chance to move in till after, I think it's just before I went into theatre, he had the chance to move the car, bring in all the things that we needed. The luggage, which had the milk and everything else that we had in the car for the baby. My husband obviously had to go later to get it. But yeah, that was my birth story. I had to stay in hospital for a couple of days because my HB and my iron level were quite low, and they had to give me like antibiotic through an IV just to make sure I didn't get an infection. So yeah, I stayed in hospital for a couple of days, and after that I kind of like forced them to discharge me home. I was feeling better. I didn't want to stay in hospital because I wasn't getting any sleep. Not that I got any at home, but I just wanted to be at home, in your own bed and with your baby, just start the whole motherhood journey with people that I was comfortable with at home. So yeah, after the second day, I told them I'd be fine. They discharged me home, and obviously told me to come back if anything changed. Yeah, that was my birth story. Quite traumatic towards the, after the birth itself. But yeah, that's how it went. Baby Noah, which is his name is Noah. He was eager to come and join us in the world. He only gave me 15 minutes of pushing. Apparently I was already in active labor at home, and obviously by the time I got to hospital it was 9-10 centimeter. It is literally within a couple of hours that happened. So that was great. Anyway, it was great. I didn't have to suffer for too long, but I wish I didn't get the tear. But now it's fine. The tear is repaired. Baby Noah is now growing nicely. And yeah, it's been an experience. It's been an ups and downs of emotion. Postpartum is not the easiest, but it's been joyful. I love him. He's perfect. But that's all, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. My advice is if your contractions are not regular and you're in a lot of pain, do not wait for them to become regular. Go to the hospital to be checked. It's better to be checked. Do not wait at home, because if I hadn't gone to the hospital, I would have given birth at home. Literally, I only had less than an hour and I would have given birth at home. So yeah, definitely go to hospital and get checked. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.